So I'm gonna be going back to my roots, back to this nice comfy shirt I used to wear, and back to the books. Hey guys, my name is Elizabeth, and today I'm going to be talking about Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. I have read this book. This is the second time I read this book, and this is part of the Throne of Glass series. This is the first book in the series. I'm getting ready for the finale that's coming out this year.
I'm going to be doing a book talk and like book review on it. I have my little notes like always when I'm going to be talking about the book, and yeah, so the first part's going to be non-spoiler, like anyone can watch it, and there's going to be a part where like only the people who have read this book can watch it, and then there's going to be another part where people who have read up to the 5th book, which is Queen of Shadows, can read, and then that's that, because I've only read until that, so.
Before getting into the review itself, like the non-spoilery review, I just want to say that this book, after reading most of the series and the novella, especially in the novella, I have a new appreciation for the main character, and like I kind of see where she's coming from and why she acted the way she did and why she was the way she was. So I definitely recommend, if you have the time, to come back and revisit her in this book, because just everything makes sense. Everything is explained in the other books, and like everything just ties in nicely. So I highly recommend if you guys want to do that. I loved it. Like I felt so much for her. I connected so much with her. I connected with her the first time, but this time putting that aside, so basically what this book is about this girl named Selena, who's an assassin. She is the kingdom's most notorious assassin, so she's very dangerous, and she's currently imprisoned, or like in a, I don't want to say concentration camp, but essentially that's kind of what it is. They're just laboring until like they kind of like die. So she's there, and basically what's going on in this kingdom is like the king, he's hosting a competition where people, nobles, bring champions, which are basically just other thieves and assassins who are willing to be the king's champion, aka the person who does all his dirty work. So the prince chooses her as his champion because, to spite his father, he knows his father doesn't like her, so he chooses her. And so she's taken out of the mines and brought back to the palace where she's supposed to train. And while that synopsis sounds very simple, very shallow, it is so much more than that. Like there's so much more to the story than just this silly competition. Like this competition begins and wraps up in this book. Like it is just the beginning, it's just like a little bit into the world, and I just loved it so much. There is magic, there is action, obviously there's fighting sequences, there is like just so much like great banter, great friendships that form. I just adore this series so much, and I highly recommend it for anyone. The writing is super easy to understand, it is very fast paced, and it's not, I wouldn't say it's a lyrical kind of writing, but it has like quotes that just stuck with me since the first time I read it. And she, to me, I feel like is very relatable. I'm not an assassin by all means, like no, but just the hardship she's gone through that has made some portions of her life like not smile, like just been a very dark place for those periods of her life. I've gone through something like that where I've just been in a dark place. When like she starts to smile again and like laugh and have friends again, just kind of seeing myself in her at those points just made her so relatable to me, because like I have been in a situation where like I'm discontent with life and just was very dark for me, and it took a while, but I did get over it. And just seeing her get over it, it just brought back so many good feelings. It just homegirl, we're here. Yeah, but now if you haven't read the book, I recommend you leave, because I'm gonna be spoiling. So bye. If you have read the book but haven't read the rest of the series, then you can stay. You can still stay. Okay, so basically what we're going to be talking about is, I just got some key points here, but right off the bat, going into the book, I fell in love with Selena. Like I fell in love with her kind of like stubborn, like I'm all that kind of personality, just because reading other YA books at the time where the female was always like, I'm unsure, I'm insecure, just having this person being all in your face, I adored. And her being able to back it up, I adored. Like I loved her for it. That being said, my favorite parts are like the little banter she has going on with like the prince or the guard or anyone basically who gave her sass. When she replied back, those were my favorite parts. And because she was enjoying herself, she was full of life in those moments, and I, like I said, that resonated with me. And I just love the parts where she was starting to warm up to the prince and to the guard and to her friend Nehemia. Like, that girl also sass. I love her to death. Like, she just seems so regal to me. I don't know, she was like, sometimes I couldn't even believe she was like a physical thing. Like, I just imagined her to be like some kind of fae or something. Like, she just had this presence of like, I look vulnerable but you can't touch me kind of stuff. I don't know. I love the moments where Selena was always pushing herself like to train harder, or like doing exercises and like training in her room. Like, that kind of motivated me back when I first read it. It motivated me to like exercise and stuff. And like, now
I'm in college, starting to gain weight, so it's like nice to be motivated again.
So leave the Duke. Like, I don't like him. I didn't like him. I never liked him. I will never like him. And he was so manipulative. I just never liked him. And I still don't like him. What he did to that poor girl, that was just wrong. Like, I honestly thought he liked her and he was using her. Another character that I really liked, besides like kind of the main ones, was Knox, the thief. I love Knox. Like, I love him so much, and I hope to see him in like the other books, because he was like, I feel like there was so much potential. They were friends. Selena and him were friends, definitely, but there was so much potential, not for them to be more, but like to be closer friends. I'm looking out for that guy. Another thing that I found interesting was, like, in today's society, the woman is normally overlooked and given these roles where they're like the princess or like the damsel in distress. And it was nice to see that even in this fantasy book, the queen, Elena, was not given credit for fighting alongside Brandon. Like, why? Like, she was a warrior, and she was just cast off into the tower as a damsel in distress. That really bugged me, but I think it does it justice in reflecting the kind of society we live in. My last 2 points are kind of dealing with the romance and then dealing with Selena herself and like the end of the book. So Dorian and Selena, even when I read it back the first time, I never really shipped them. I was always in Kale's like team. I always thought he was her better fit. Dorian was like the nice playful friend, I feel like, but I never really saw them click like a couple, like soulmates or kind of stuff like that. I thought it was interesting how they were attracted to each other, definitely, but for me it was just nice to see them as friends. And I always rooted for my boy Kale. Like, the ending scene when he's like begging her to get up, that was, I was done. I was like, yeah, I'm dying with this shit. And yeah, so that's one thing. And the other one is, at the end of the day, she doesn't choose Kale, she doesn't choose Dorian, who she had a thing with. She chooses herself. She puts freedom above everything, and that's why I love this girl. That's why I love her. That's why she's going places. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's kind of all for it. But overall, I really enjoy it, and I can't wait for you guys to continue on with the series. So I'm going to be making a video of like this for each book. So I hope you guys stick around. If you guys have not continued on with the series, I will ask you to go now. Okay, so now we get to talk. Now we get down to business. So if you haven't read up to Queen of Shadows, I'm going to ask you guys to leave. But if you have read all the books up to Queen of Shadows, you can stay. You can stay. Like, Queen of Shadows, if you read Queen of Shadows, you can stay. Again, I just want to reiterate, like, I appreciate Selena way more in this book because I read the other books. Like, I saw what she had to go through in Heir of Fire, and that just broke my heart to see her like struggle and just become someone new. And when she went through in the Assassin's Blade, and I'm team Selena. Definitely always will be team Selena. And I just, again, I relate to her a lot, like not like a lot like physically or like what she does, but like her strong sympathy for others, her strong like wanting to do what's right, putting others before her. I completely relate to that feeling, just because like I feel like I always want to put others before me. Like, I don't know how to explain this without seeming like, oh my god, you're so good, like bragging about me, because I'm not trying to brag. I'm trying to say, like, for me, like whatever career I would want to do is like in service of others. Like, for me, seeing other people happier and living an easier, better life is what fulfills me most. So watching her dedicate herself to just regaining back her kingdom and freeing slaves and whatnot, like, it just struck a chord in me. And then just watching her again smile, coming out of her shell again, like all the mess she had to go through and still smile. I love this girl. The second thing is, the romance, even okay guys, so I've read Queen of Shadows and Air of Fire, and Air of Fire, I was like, Rowan and Selena are my besties. Like they, like I was not like I shipped this because I still like Kale at the time. I just thought Rowan was like a great friend. Like I love him so much. And then Queen of Shadows came about and they were a thing, and I didn't really mind it. I felt really bad for Kale, and like I felt like heartache of like having to let Kale go, but he just like, Selena was like over here and just Kale wasn't up there with her. Like he was afraid of her in a way, and like I just like no boo boo, no, you can't be with her like that. So for me, I was completely team Rowan, of course team Selena, but like I liked Rowan with her. And rereading A Throne of Glass, like, is it bad that I still rooted for Kale? Like I love him so much despite all the shit he does in the next coming books. I still love this guy. That just goes to show how good of characters these are. Like I love Kale. Like
I love him. Like I love his demeanor. Like I love his persona. I love him. This is bad. I'm just gushing. I'm saying nothing coherent.
But yeah, I still like Kale. Obviously Dorian is my little cinnamon roll, and I still love him to death. Okay, and then rereading this one, I like finally understand I should have paid more attention to the Duke because he's important in the next books, and I didn't. Like I was like, the King is the bad one, paying attention to him, no one else. The Duke is an annoyance, but we're just gonna put him aside. And no, that was the wrong thing to do. I think this is my 4th point, but after reading the other books in the Assassin's Blade and coming back to this one, I finally understood what Nehemia was to Selena. Nehemia was like Selena's, I don't want to say retribution, Nehemia saved her in a way. Like she gave her a friendship, believed in her, gave her that name of like being unable to be tamed, and she was just so loyal, so loved her unconditionally. Like Nehemia was a G, and she's gone now. Like I finally understand, like she was her best friend, she was like her sister, and to take her away from Selena when she had lost already so much, like I now get like I understand what Nehemia was like, and I understand what she must have been to her people. Like her people looked up to her, like she was the leader of the rebels, like they were her only hope, and to have her get killed in the next book, like that it kind of, because when I was first reading the series I was like, oh, him is great and all, but like okay, whatever, like let's get back to Selena. Like now I can really go back and like appreciate all the characters for who they are. So yeah, that kind of wraps up the whole shebang for this book. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to see and reading more about these characters in the other one. Stick around if you guys want to know my updates. I'm so happy I read this book. Like it's took me a while, took me a long while to read it, but I read it, it's done. I can move on to the next book. I'm happy I am prioritizing reading a little bit this year, even though I'm in college. And it was good to talk about books again in my channel, and I hope to talk to you guys later. Like this video if you liked it, click subscribe if you guys want to hear more about books, more about my life, more about everything, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.